The first ever United Nations Summit on Oceans wrapped up on Friday, the 9th of June 2017, with a global agreement to reverse the decline of the ocean's health, and more than 1,300 pledged actions for protecting the blue.
The sea indeed belongs to all of us. Improving the health of our oceans is a test for multilateralism, and we cannot afford to fail. We must jointly address the problems of governance that have held us back. I am aware that there are many obstacles to progress, but we need a new strategic vision, and I call on all member states to engage in the dialogue necessary to define a new model for the future governance of our oceans. Unless we overcome the territorial and resource interests that have blocked progress for far too long, the state of our oceans will continue to deteriorate. We must put aside short-term national gain to prevent long-term global catastrophe. Conserving our oceans and using them sustainably is preserving our life itself.
May I take it that the conference wishes to adopt draft resolution A/conf 230/L1? I hear no objection. It is so decided.
The Ocean Conference ended on Friday, the 9th of June, with the adoption by consensus of a 14-point call for action, where the participating heads of state and government and senior representatives affirm their strong commitment to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, seas and marine resources for sustainable development.
The ocean needs to be saved, not only for our generation, but for our children and their children as well. The time for action is now, and the voluntary commitments made during these dialogues are an important step in the right direction. Yes, the ocean is rising, but so are we.
The main point from the political document and the week's discussions will be part of the United Nations High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development, the United Nations central body for follow-up and review of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Sustainable Development Goals adopted in September 2015.
Global consciousness has now been raised, such that no one can say that they were not aware of the ocean's problems. Neither will they be able to say that they have not been alerted to the many solutions that are now ours to deliver on. We must move forward with determination and with a sense of urgency.
The week-long conference, where some 6,000 people participated, was the first time that the United Nations brought everyone together to discuss the challenges facing the world's oceans. Topics that were discussed ranged from plastic pollution in the oceans and seas to oceans acidification and illegal fishing, which tie in with topics of alleviating poverty, ending hunger, promoting health, ensuring access to water and sanitation.
Even Sweden, my home country, which has a big reputation for being environmentally friendly, also our own neighboring sea, the Baltic Sea, is one of the most polluted seas in the world. So of course we need to make sure that others don't repeat our mistakes, and we also have a special responsibility.
The Ocean Conference, the first United Nations conference of its kind on the issue, has raised global consciousness of ocean problems ranging from marine pollution to illegal and overfishing.
193 member countries is not a small constituency, and every one of them can take a decision to lead their own countries with the responsibilities they have against what it is that they do to the detriment of this life on our planet. And I think that that's very important for us to get across. You have a responsibility to your countries and your people first, but you also have a moral obligation to the world that you live on.
Humanity owes much to the oceans in many aspects of life, providing invaluable ecosystems, climate regulation, and cultural support to the millions of people who live near the sea. as 3 billion people ultimately depend on marine and coastal biodiversity, all nations agree on the need to step up efforts to protect oceans and seas, especially in the area of climate change, when transformational interventions are becoming even more urgent and encompassing.
We cannot continue to dump plastic into the global oceans. If we continue at the present rate, the weight of plastic will be the same as the weight of fish by 2050. This is a huge issue in many dimensions. It's a huge economic issue for many developing states and also developed states. 80% of the plastic in the oceans is coming from land, not from shipping and fishing or an activity at sea. And we need to stop it at source. And that is about making recyclable plastic systems, making degradable plastic, and it's about simply cutting down on the use and move to other alternatives. Of course, we also want to work with the plastic industry. They need to change. They need to change into recyclable plastic, to degradable plastic, and we need alternative products made from sugar canes or bamboo or whatever it may be. All this can be done. This is, in a way, one of the easier tasks to take upon, and I'm confident that we will resolve it, but we need a strong engagement from everyone, governments, citizens, and business.
For more than 50 years, global production of plastic has continued to rise. Some 299 million tons of plastics were produced in 2013, representing a 4% increase over 2012. Recovery and recycling, however, remain insufficient, and millions of tons of plastics end up in landfills and oceans each year.
The net effect of this plastic material is the fact that they are not degradable. That is, they cannot disappear. You can't do anything about them, which is one of the advantages why we started using them in the first instance. But it has now turned out to be a big problem. Now, these plastics are used in our different homes. They're supposed to be packaged and sent to a proper landfill. But in most developing countries, this is not the case. Instead, these plastics and plastic material end up in our canals and our streams and our rivers. Now, these plastics then move from these canals and these streams into bigger water bodies, the rivers. The rivers empty into a lagoon, as in the case of Lagos, and this lagoon then ends up in the ocean. So the Atlantic Ocean and what we call the Gulf of Guinea right now is overloaded with these plastic materials. Go into any municipality, any area of our country now. Our gutters, our canals, our streams, you will find huge tons of plastics and plastic type material in the gutters. Where are they coming from? They are coming from municipal waste. Our municipal waste is poorly managed, which is another issue, another problem. The fact that we do not handle municipal waste properly, municipal solid waste. So a lot of people use the rivers as their emptying ground for this municipal waste. It has now become a global issue that UNEP, the United Nations Environment Programme, has now established special programs for marine litter and plastics. The focus of that special program is how can we reduce marine litter, how can we reduce plastics going into our oceans.
Conservationists are urging that the oceans are part of the solution and they must be a key focus of global efforts to cope with and mitigate climate change. That's our program for today. Thank you for watching. Please join us next week for another episode of the program. You can get in touch by using any of our feedback channels and can also view this episode by visiting our website, channelstv.com. Click on the programs and then click Earthfile. We'll see you next week.